We are live, Beena. We are live. We are live. Yes, witness.
Yes. Okay.
We are
Hello.
live.
Okay. Hello and good morning. Welcome to Moreness-Culture. Hello, Brain. And how are you, sir?
Yes, yes. Good morning. Good morning. I'm good. I'm good. I slept very late. I woke up at 9:30, so then rushed to get ready. But we're just making it. We're a bit late. We were on time, but then the software said, no, you don't have permission. Who knows? All right. Well, let's get going. Let's get going.
uh,
Let's get
yeah,
going.
things happen, but okay, of course, we survive. And
Yeah.
this is what kind of attunement is also that doing things, even unpredictable situations, kind of not making sense situations, and is still not get panic, still not get distressed. This is what living via attunement is, or at least on a basic level. For right now, for me, at which stage I feel myself in life, that minimize the stress as much as we can and not get into trying to control everything, which is hard to learn because for from the very first memory till now, this is what we have been taught, to do things as we want to, as we need to. And this should mindset is so constraining, because and I never realized that before, till I started practicing, trying to practice live via attunement. I was not even realizing that how much limited that way of life and that way of being is. And now life is becoming less stressful. Life is becoming more pleasant. Life is becoming more free. And this is the real
And more
magic of
magical. And
yes,
more magical.
exactly, and becoming more magical. And it is fun. Uh, it is
Right. Right.
continuously staying, not just going into that the learner mindset or a student mindset, but it is actually staying there. It's a very positive, uh, without attachment, without any should curiosity we have. We are open to learn. It's a curiosity
Right.
without having any expectations. It's a complete freedom there, and
Yeah.
also to receive more. And this is what I
Because we shift.
really feel that okay, this is a very um, pleasant change in my life, in my way of being, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this.
Right. Because we
So
shift,
things
right? We
happen.
shift from that
Yes.
student mindset. We shift from the
Yes.
student mindset to the applier mindset. We're always
Exactly.
learning, so we're perpetual students, but we are students who apply, and that makes all the
Yes.
difference. That's the key to way of impeccability. Absolute key there, right? Very big deal. Very big deal. Very, very, very big.
Yes. Yes.
All right, I'm nearly ready here. I just want to
Yes.
share to Norma and to Elizabeth. And okay, so here we go. Norma, Michaela, we'll send them all the notification. And Elizabeth, and there we go. Send to Cheryl, please. She's right there. Okay, okay. Cheryl, everybody. And I've got one more thing to say. So this is very important what Dean is saying, that this shift to application and to understand and living in attunement, this is a doing, and it's something that we don't have to have the knowledge ahead of time. This is the magic of attunement. You have to have an understanding of attunement, yes, but when you live in attunement, it enables you to live appropriately, yes, without having all the knowledge. You have a little, but not much, right?
Mm.
Because you get guidance from the universe. It is amazing.
Yes.
It is amazing. And you know what's right in your heart already. This is the whole point of way of impeccability, is to connect you to your conscience. Right? your deeper self, to your right self, to your impeccability. That's why it's all about impeccability. That's why it's called Way of Impeccability rather than Way of Attunement, which it can also be called. It can be called many things, or Way of Intent, right? Way of Application, many things it can be called. But this is the key. The absolute key is impeccability, which is best use of energy. Best use of energy. Living in attunement with your conscience. When you're in attunement with your conscience, then you can get to be in attunement with the greater universe. Right? It's all the reflection. It's all connected. It's all interconnected. So if you're not balanced inside, then well, the outside is going to be off. Right? Very, very critical. Very crucial. Yes, Beena? All right, let's
Yes.
get going. Let's get going. Let's get going. And let's screen share, and then we'll start reading. Very exciting. We're in chapter 3, halfway through chapter 3, and we stopped at a very important quote that Don Juan said. Yeah, right? Are you angry with me, Don Juan? I asked when he returned. He seemed surprised at my question. No, I'm never angry at anybody. No human being can do anything important enough for that. You get angry at people when you feel their acts are important. I don't feel that way any longer. And that's the key. See, when we live the typical usual life and the life that's in the superiority paradigm, well, then of course all our acts are important, and by extension other people's, because they affect our. Then you get into this whole thing of anger and jealousy and revenge and God knows what, all sorts of things, comparison and competition with everybody. But when you learn to live in tune with yourself and in tune with the universe, it's what that attunement is what's important. Acts of other people, they are what they are. They're not an issue. They don't affect you. Right? So you don't have this anger. It ceases to be an issue. Yes, yes, it's an old habit, and that's why in Way of Impeccability, the theme is dealing with habits, and many tools for dealing with habits. It's a very powerful theme. It's very important because we still have this habit of the old stuff, the old culture, and it comes back and bites you every now and then. You have to be really cautious. You have to be really careful. Again, part of living in a human. All right, Beena, will you please read there from Tuesday?
Okay.
One moment before you get reading, let me just check real quick and see anybody on Instagram. Come and join us. It's a wrong window. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I like to just greet the people on Instagram also. All right, nobody yet. All right, never mind. So all good. I'll leave it there for a while. Brilliant, brilliant. Please, Beena, please.
Tuesday, 26th December 1961. The specific time to replant the shoot, as Don Juan called the root, was not set, although it was supposed to be the next step in taming the plant power. I arrived at Don Juan's house.
Let me just put some context here real quick for those joining us. We are reading Carlos Castaneda, but really we are reading Don Juan. Now, Carlos is all interested in the plants, the medicinal plants, i.e. hallucinogens, etc. In other words, drugs, right? And that was the culture at the time, right? In the 60s, this was a big deal. At least when he was writing this, it was a big deal, right? Because he only wrote the book was only published, I think, in 67 or 68. So, when he that was at the height of that era. And he's from California, UCLA, right? Right in the heart of all of this. And so this is an emphasis for him. This is what he believes is important. It's not, as you'll find out later. But right now, in this first book, he's got a big focus, and we get into all these details of him going into Jimson weed and the mushroom and peyote and all the stuff. But it's not the focus. We're only reading it because we want to be complete. Because in between there, those little gems, like about what Don Juan said about being angry, right? So we're reading for those gems. This is what's valuable to us, right? And now I've got a quote file that I'm making, and I put all these quotes in here, right? So that's what we've pulled so far. In amongst all this other stuff that's of no value to us because we cannot replicate, right? It's not replicatable, so it's of no value to us. All this power plant stuff. Beside which, it's not in itself really has value. It's needed for Carlos, as Don Juan will explain later, because he's a knucklehead and he needs to be cracked, he needs to be shifted, he needs to be changed. But he's very stuck in his ways, so he's a problem. So this is something that don't focus on this. We're simply reading it because we have, right? Because we're being thorough in terms of going through this. Because every now and then there's a little gem, and those are important. I don't want to miss those, right? And these are what, at least when I first read this, all of this stuff was of no interest. It was fascinating. I mean, I'll say it was interesting, but of no interest to me. It was interesting, very interesting. It was fascinating, still is, but of no interest, right? Because I can't use it. And to me, I'm all about usability. That's it. All my life since age 10. What can I use? Without application, it's all meaningless, right? Always understood this. All my life was focused on this. And by the time I started to read this, I actually already had a very extensive philosophy developed and in place that I was practicing. I didn't realize because I was in that learning mode. I was completely in that learning mode. So I never had any awareness of what I'd already done, right? So this helped me to become aware. So, well, it resonates with what I'm doing, what I've figured out, etc. Right? So very important, very, very important. All right, please continue.
Okay. I arrived at Don Juan's house on Saturday, 23rd December, early in the afternoon. We sat in silence for some time as usual. The day was warm and cloudy. It had been months since he had given me the first portion. It is time to return the weed to the earth, he said suddenly. But first I'm going to fix a protection for you. You will keep it and guard it, and it is for you alone to see. Since I'm going to fix it, I will also see it. That is not good, because as I told you, I'm not fond of the devil's weed. We are not one, but my memory will not live long. I'm too old. You must keep it from the eyes of others, however, for so long as their memory of having seen it lasts. The power of protection is harmed. We went into his room and pulled 3 burlap bundles out from under an old straw mat. He came back to the porch and sat down. After a long silence, he opened one bundle. It was the female datura he had collected with me. All the leaves, flowers, and seed pods that he had stacked up before were dry. He took a long piece of root letter shaped like a letter Y and tied the bundle again. The root had dried and shriveled, and the bars of the fork had become more widely separated and more contorted. He put up the root on his lap, opened his leather pouch, and pulled out his knife. He held the dry root in front of me. This part is for the head, he said, and made the first incision into the tail of the Y, which in an upside down position resembled the shape of a man with his legs spread out. This for the heart, he said, and cut close to the joint of the Y. Next, he chopped the tips of the root, leaving about 3 inches of wood each bar of the Y. Then slowly and patiently, he carved the shape of a man. The root was dry and fibrous. In order to carve it, Don Juan made 2 incisions and peeled the fibers between them to the depth of the cuts. Nevertheless, when he came to details, he chiseled the wood, as when he shaped the arms and the hands. The final product was a wiry figurine of man, arms folded over the chest and hands in clasping position. Don Juan got up and walked to a blue agave growing in front of the house. Agave. Agave growing in front of the house next to the porch. He took the hard thorn of one of the center, pulpy leaves, bent it and rotated it 3 or 4 times. The circular motion almost detached it from the leaf. It hung loose. He bit on it, or rather he held it between his teeth and yanked it out. The thorn come out from the pulp, bringing with it a white tail, 2 feet long, still holding the thorn. Between his teeth, Don Juan twisted the fibers together between the palms of his hands and made a string, which he wrapped around the figure's legs to bring them together. He encircled the lower part of the body until the
Lost my,
mm,
where was this now? I lost. Here we go. Here we go. I lost the spot in my eye.
okay, yes, until the string was all used up. Then very skillfully he worked the thorn like an awl inside the front part of the body under the folded arms, until the sharp tip emerged as through popping out of the figure's hand. He used his teeth again, and by pulling gently, brought the thorn nearly all the way out. It looked like a long spear protruding,
Protruding.
yes, protruding from the figure's chest. Without looking at the figure any more, Don Juan placed it inside his leather pouch. He seemed exhausted from the effort. He lay down on the floor and fell asleep. It was already dark when he woke up. We ate the groceries and we ate the groceries I had bought him and sat on the porch for a while longer. Then Don Juan walked to the back of the house, carrying 3 burlap bundles. He cut twigs and dry branches and started a fire. He sat in front of it comfortably, and he opened all 3 bundles. Besides the one containing the dry pieces of the female plant, there was another with all that was left of the male plant, and a third, bulky one containing green, freshly cut pieces of datura. Don Juan went to the pig's trough and came back
Up.
with a stone mortar. Trough and came back with a stone mortar, a very deep one that looked more like a pot whose bottom ended in a soft curve. He made a shallow hole and set the mortar firmly on the ground. He put more dry twigs on the fire, then took the 2 bundles with the dry pieces of male and female plants and emptied them into the mortar all at once. He shook the burlap to make sure that all the debris had fallen to the mortar. From the 3rd bundle, he extracted 2 fresh pieces of datura root. I'm going to prepare them just for you, he said. What kind of preparation is it, Don Juan? Your turn, Syl.
One of these pieces comes from the male plant, the other from the female plant. This is the only time the 2 plants should be put together. The pieces come from a depth of 1 yard.
He mashed them inside the mortar with even strokes of the pestle. As he did so, he chanted in a low voice. It sounded like a rhythmless, monotonous hum. The words were unintelligible to me. He was absorbed in his task. When the roots were completely mashed, he took some datura leaves from the bundle. They were clean and freshly cut, and all were intact and free of wormholes and cuts. He dropped them into a mortar one at a time. He took a handful of datura flowers and dropped them also into the mortar in the same deliberate manner. I counted 14 of each. Then he got a bunch of fresh green seed pods which had all their spikes and were not open. I could not count them because he dropped them into the mortar all at once, but I assumed that there were also 14 of them. He added 3 stems of datura without any leaves. They were dark, red, and clean, and seemed to have belonged to large plants, judging by their multiple ramifications. After all these items had put into the mortar, he mashed them to a pulp with the same where it is now. I lost it. Okay, with the same evil strokes. At a certain moment, he tipped the mortar over, and with his hand scooped the mixture into an old pot. He stretched out his hand to me, and I thought he wanted me to dry it. Instead, he took my left hand and with a very fast motion separated the middle and fourth fingers as far as he could. Then, with the point of his knife, he stabbed me right in between the two fingers and ripped downwards on the skin of the fourth finger. He acted so much skill and speed that when I jerked my hand away, it was deeply cut, and the blood was flowing abundantly. He grabbed my hand again, placed it over the pot, and squeezed it to force more blood out. My arm got numb. I was in a state of shock, strangely cold and rigid, with an oppressive sensation in my chest and ears. I felt I was sliding down on my seat. I was fainting. He let go my hand and stirred the contents of the pot. When I recovered from the shock, I was really angry with him. It took me quite some time to regain my composure. He set up 3 stones around the fire and placed the pot on top of them. To all the ingredients, he added something that I took to be a big chunk of carpenter's glue and a pot of water and let all that boiled. Dura plants have by themselves a very peculiar odor, combined with the carpenter's glue, which gave odor. Okay, combined with the carpenter's glue, which gave off a strong odor. When the mixture began to boil, they created so pungent a vapor that I had to fight not to vomit. The mix boiled for a long time as we sat there motionless in front of it. At times, when the wind blew the vapor in my direction, the stench enveloped me, and I held my breath in an effort to avoid it. Don Juan opened his leather pouch and took the figurine out. He handed it to me carefully and told me to place it inside the pot without burning my hands. I let it slip gently into the boiling mush. He got out his knife, and for a second I thought he was going to slash me again. Instead, he pushed the figurine with the tip of the knife and sank it. He watched the mush boil for a while longer and then began to clean the mortar. I helped him. When he had finished, he set the mortar and pestle against the furnace. We went inside the house, and the pot was left on the stones all night. The next morning at dawn, Don Juan instructed me to pull the figurine out of the glue and hang it from the roof facing the east, and to dry it in the sun. At noon, it was stiff as a wire. The heat had sealed the glue, and the green color of the leaves had mixed with it. The figurine had a glossy, eerie finish. Don Juan asked me to get the figurine down. Then he handed me a leather pouch he had made out of an old sweat jacket I had brought for him some time before. The pouch looked like the one he owned himself. The only difference was that his was made of soft brown leather. Put your image inside the pouch and close it, he said. He did not look at me and deliberately kept his head turned away. Once I had the figurine inside the pouch, he gave me a carrying net and told me to put the clay pot inside the net. He walked to my car, took the net from my hands, and fastened it onto the open lid of the glove compartment. Come with me, he said. I followed him, and he walked around the house, making a complete clockwise circle. He stopped at the porch and circled the house again. This time going counterclockwise, and again returning to the porch. He stood motionless for some time and then sat down. I was conditioned to believe that everything he did had some meaning. I was wondering about the significance of circling the house when he said, "Hey, I have forgotten where I put it." I asked him
I'm
what he
just
was.
amused that, hey, you just forgot something,
Yes, I asked him that what he was looking for. He said he had forgotten where he had placed the shoe I was to replant. He walked around the house once more before he remembered where it was. He showed me a small glass jar on a piece of board nailed to the wall below the roof. The jar contained the other half of the first portion of the datura root. The shoot had an incipient growth of leaves and its top end. The jar contained a small amount of water but no soil. Why doesn't it have any soil? I asked. All soils are
Oh,
not the same.
okay, I'll read, Beena. This is a long dialogue, yes. I'll read.
Okay.
Okay, so read again yours.
Why doesn't it have any soil?
All soils are not the same, and the devil's weed must know only the soil on which she will live and grow. And now it is time to return her to the ground before the worms damage her.
Can you plant her here near the house?
No, no, not around here. She must be returned to a place of your liking.
But where can I find a place of my liking?
I don't know that. You can replant her wherever you want, but she must be cared for and looked after because she must live so that you will have the power you need. If she dies, it means that she does not want you and you must not disturb her further. It means you won't have power over her. Therefore, you must care for her and look after her so that she will grow. You must not pamper her though,
Why not?
because if it is not her will to grow, it is of no use to entice her. But on the other hand, you must prove that you care. Keep the worms away and give her water when you visit her. This must be done regularly until she seeds. After the first seeds bud out, we will be sure that she wants you.
But Don Juan, it is not possible for me to look after the root the way you wish.
If you want power, you must do it. There is no other way.
Can you take care of her for me when I'm not here, Don Juan?
No, not I. I can't do that. Each one must nourish his own shoot. I had my own. Now you must have yours. And not until she has seeded, as I told you, can you consider yourself ready for learning.
Where do you think I should replant her?
That is for you alone to decide. And nobody must know the place, not even I. That is the way the replanting must be done. Nobody, but nobody can know where your plant is. If a stranger follows you or sees you, take the shoot and run away to another place. He could cause you unimaginable harm through manipulating the shoot. He could cripple or kill you. That's why not even I must know where your plant is.
He handed me the little jar with the shoot.
Take
Take
it
it now.
now.
I took it, then he almost dragged me to my car.
Now you must leave. Go and pick the spot where you will replant the shoot. Dig a deep hole in soft dirt next to a watery place. Remember, she must be near water in order to grow. Dig the hole with your hands only, even if they bleed. Place the shoot in the center of the hole and make a mound around it. Then soak it with water. When the water sinks, fill the hole with soft dirt. Next, pick a spot 2 paces away from the shoot in that direction, pointing to the southeast. Dig another deep hole there, also with your hands, and dump into it what's in the pot. Then smash the pot and bury it deep in another place, far from the spot where your shoot is. When you have buried the pot, go back to your shoot and water it once more. Then take out your image. Hold it between the fingers where the fresh one is, and standing on the spot where you have buried the glue, touch the shoot lightly with a sharp needle. Circle the shoot 4 times, stopping each time in the same spot to touch it.
Do I have to say any words while I go around the shoot?
No. Yeah, I up. Do I have to follow?
Okay. Do I have to follow a specific direction when I go around the route?
Any direction will do. But you must always remember in what direction you buried the clue and what direction you took when you circled the shoot. Touch the shoot lightly with a point every time except the last, when you must thrust it deep, but do it carefully. Kneel for a more steady hand, because you must not break the point inside the shoe. If you break it, you are finished. The root will be of no use to you.
Do I have to say any words while I go around the shoot?
No, I will do that for you. Yeah, such a lot of rigmarole, right? Such a lot of rigmarole. I mean, there's no possible
Yes.
way that you're going to remember all this because, we don't know if Carlos wrote down every detail that was significant. So, and of course, look, Don Juan is going to say something critical, and we don't know what that is. So it's not possible to, even if you really study these and try to follow the instructions, there are parts that are missing. And that's good to me because this is a misdirection, and this is not really relevant and pertinent for us. Yeah? So let me just check here quickly, see if anybody is on IG. Nazia has joined. So hello, Nazia. Very nice to have you here. And then we can also check to see if we have anybody on Facebook. Nope, I don't see anybody there, but that doesn't mean they're not there. Oh, Elizabeth wants to come join us on Zoom. Ah, okay. Yeah. One second, let me just get her the Zoom link. Ah. Okay, invite. All right, very good. Very good. All right, so we're going to be joined by Elizabeth. So very good. There we go. See, I'm glad I checked for the messages here. Wow, very good. Very good. So get involved, you see. A lot of exciting stuff going on. All right, so let's go to the next morning here and see if we can get through all this, find something interesting.
Okay. Saturday, 27 January 1962. As soon as I got to his house this morning, Don Juan told me he was going to show me how to prepare the smoke mixture. He walked to the hills and went quite a way into one of the canyons. He stopped next to a tall, slender bush whose color contrasted markedly with that of the surrounding vegetation. The chaparral around the bush was yellowish, but the bush was bright green.
From this little tree, you must take the leaves of the flowers. The right time to pick them all. And the right time to pick them is All Souls Day.
He took out his knife and chopped off the end of the thin branch. He chose so it is okay.
It shows I don't know what that is.
Yes, okay.
Let's see, hold on. Oh, there we go. All right, never mind. Yes, Elizabeth. So
Okay,
brilliant,
hello
brilliant,
Elizabeth.
brilliant. Hello, Elizabeth. It's good of you to join us. Your sound is still off. You have to still click the sound.
Unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself, yes. Elizabeth and Esther. I wonder if they're both
Yes.
here.
Elizabeth, can you hear us?
There she's unmuted now. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, Elizabeth. Hello. Oh, very good. You're very soft, Elizabeth. So either go closer to the mic or speak louder. I suspect you're far from your mic, or you need to turn your mic's volume up. In the audio, right next to audio there on Zoom, there's audio settings, and go there and pull up the volume of the microphone, the sensitivity.
Can you hear me?
Very faintly, very weakly.
So I have to.
Yeah, on Zoom. right next to the audio button there where you unmuted yourself, there's a little up arrow. Click on that and go to audio settings. Are you on a computer or on the phone? Say again?
The phone.
I don't know how to do it on the phone. You just have to turn your volume up on the phone, maybe. We're struggling to hear you. I mean, either that, hold the phone very close. We can hardly hear you. All right, I'll try one more thing, Elizabeth. Leave and come right back. Sometimes the settings don't always connect properly, and then when you leave and come right back, then they're good. So just try that. Just leave Zoom and then come right back again. All right.
I can hear her very, very faintly.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So leave and come right back, Elizabeth. It will reset your settings, the sound settings. It does that quite often. Right? So leave and come right back. Did you hear, Elizabeth?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. We'll continue reading while you leave and come back. Look here. I have cut all the branches above the fork made by 2 or more leaves and the stem. Do you see? They are all the same. I have used only the tip of each branch, where the leaves are fresh and tender. Now we must look for a shaded place.
He walked until he seemed to have found what he was looking for. He took a long string from his pocket and tied it to the trunk of the lower branches of 2 bushes, making a kind of clothesline on which he hung the branch tips upside down. He arranged them along the string in a neat fashion, hooked by a fork between the leaves and the stem. They resembled a long row of green horsemen.
One must see that the leaves dry in the shade. The place must be secluded and difficult to get to. That way the leaves are protected. They must be left to dry in a place where it would be impossible to find them. After they have dried, they must be put in a bundle and sealed.
He picked up the leaves from the string and threw them into the nearby shrubs. Apparently, he had intended only to show me the procedure. We continued walking and he picked 3 different flowers, saying they were part of the ingredients and were supposed to be gathered at the same time. But the flowers had to be put in separate clay pots and dried in darkness. A lid had to be placed on each pot so the flowers would turn moldy inside the container. He said the function of the leaves and the flowers was to sweeten the smoke mixture. We
All right,
came
so
out.
sorry, 1 second, Beena. We've
Yeah.
gotten great detail of all the procedure. But yeah, he picked 3 different flowers. Which ones?
Yes.
Just in case anybody thought that, well, you can replicate this. No, you can't. There's missing information here, right? And
Yes.
either Carlos was just negligent if his intent was to share every detail so that he could replicate it. But I suspect in some way that he was aware that this is not for anybody to replicate, right? And so he left out some things he may not have known, right? But either way, it's not. So if we look at attunement, though, attunement is telling us this very clearly is not something that is replicatable. Because, well, duh, right? It's not even that much attunement. Duh.
We came out of the canyon and walked towards the riverbed. After a long detour, we returned to his house. Late in the evening, we sat in his own room, a thing he really allowed me to do. And he told me about the final ingredient of the mixture, the mushrooms. The real secret of the mixture lies in the mushrooms, he said. They are the most difficult ingredient to collect. Are you there?
I must read this. Sarah said, the real secret of the mixture lies in the mushrooms. They are the most difficult ingredient to collect. The trip to the place where they grow is long and dangerous, and to select the right variety is even more perilous. There are other kinds of mushrooms growing alongside which are of no use. They would spoil the good ones if they were dried together. It takes time to know the mushrooms well in order not to make a mistake. Serious harm will result from using the wrong kind. Harm to the man and to the pipe. I know of men who have dropped dead from using the foul smoke. Oh, now he switched to the mushroom mixture. I thought he was talking about ingredients for the Dura plant, right? But it's not.
Yeah.
Now he's talking about the mushroom mixture. It's just a switch here that it wasn't telegraphed. We didn't know. So yes, Elizabeth again. Elizabeth, you're back again.
Can you hear me now?
Very softly, Elizabeth. Very soft. You may have to go into your phone settings and look at your sound settings and look at your microphone sensitivity. It's obviously very low. I'm assuming you're talking with a phone held very close to you, but we're hearing you very faintly.
Maybe my voice. I
Oh
have
yes, it is
to.
getting better.
That's better. Yes, that's better. Say again.
I'm saying maybe my voice is more like low. It's just starting day with you
Yeah,
guys sometimes.
there you
Hello,
go.
Elizabeth.
Now it's
We can
better.
hear you.
Hello,
Yeah.
hello, hello. Now we can hear you. Yes. Now it's still a bit on the soft side, but still. Yes, you have to enunciate and project. Right? To hear your power, hear your insights. I mean, I think we may be a bit used to speaking that way because it's kind of the way we communicate. But it's helpful though in terms of making sure you are heard, right? And not because of an ego reason, but because what you have to say matters. If you don't have something to say that matters, then don't say anything. Very simple. So if you are going to say it, then say it like it matters. Yes, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I'm happy to be with you guys today, but would like to know more about the matter, what you're talking about. And would you like to hear from me, like if I'm talking something different, is it okay?
Oh yes, absolutely. We can pause our reading here and absolutely have a wonderful interaction discussion with you. So we'll pause our reading over here for today. It's no problem at all. And I'm actually going to
Yes.
stop screen sharing. What we are doing, Elizabeth, before we hear from you, because it's all connected. What we are doing I'll start with a big picture. What we are doing with the lives is sharing moreness culture. Moreness culture is something I have developed, and it comes from my writings and from the courses and the programs that I run and share. Now, this is a big deal. Moreness culture takes a long time to understand what it is. It's like saying any culture. If I want to talk about, Southwestern culture, Eastern culture, Middle Earth culture, whatever culture I'm talking about, right? It doesn't matter. It's complex. There's a lot to it. And likewise with Moreness culture. Now, one of the key components of everything I do, all right, my book series is its own world and own culture, world of Nobelia and the new nobility and all that, right? And doesn't mean we need to necessarily replicate that, but that is an instance, an example of Moreness culture. Moreness culture is not our default typical culture, which is based on the superiority paradigm, right? So it's an alternative to the superiority paradigm, and that is very important. Now, of course, moreness is depth. Moreness is things like discernment, awareness, understanding, right? Application, and qualities of being, tools of living, all that provide moreness. Not moreness in terms of abundance, because that's a very, superiority paradigm idea, but moreness in terms of awareness and understanding, discernment, right? Moreness in terms of what we are as people, what gives us value, what is useful to us, what brings us joy, and what brings us ability, competence, etc. All moreness. So the lives are all about moreness culture. And we've done many things in the lives. You can go back. All the lives are saved in the guide, in my guide, under the different topics over there, right? Not too many of them, but you can find all the episodes there, or you can go to my YouTube channel. They're all saved there as well. So we're very thorough and diligent in saving all this. It's all there if anybody wants to go through it all. Now, in part of the lives that we've done, we've read other books. Like recently, we read Musashi's Book of Five Rings. We read my book series, the first book of my book series, right? The New Nobles. with Biela and all of them, right? Biela and Ursula and Cornelius and all the group. It's a very fun story, but it's a story with tons of depth, 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 depth. That's what we're looking for, depth, always depth. Right now, we are doing a long extended, this is going to probably take a year or two or more. We are reading the Carlos Castaneda books. There are 14 of them, of which we're likely going to read 13. This one is about practical physical exercises. So we'll read the introduction, but not much more than that. It's just pointless to do that unless you actually want to do the exercises. Now, in this reading, we are doing a capital R reading as we did with all the other books, which means we read with depth, we read with discernment, we read with discussion, we read about extracting the value, the moreness, right? And there's lots of moreness to be extracted. However, the Carlos books need to be understood in the greater context. Like I was saying earlier, right now we're going into all the power plants, the Tura, and we're going into the mushroom, psilocybin, etc. All the stuff that gets all involved in, and it's not of real relevance to us because we can't replicate it for one, and two, it's somewhat of a misdirection, and it's there only because Carlos is quite a unique character. He's very stuck, he's very limited in his ways, he's in a very deep bubble, and Don Juan has to kind of crack him out of this egg that he's in. And so he needs extra that most people don't need. And Don Juan says this later on. So we mustn't get too concerned and stuck into this stuff that he's all involved with now. It's not really of relevance to us. We're just looking for those pearls of those nuggets of moreness that come up from Don Juan, like what he said about anger. That no, he doesn't get angry because people's actions aren't important to him. Right? Very, very powerful understanding, just basic psychology, but it's a very useful psychology. Very, very useful, very powerful. So we're reading for this moreness. Now in book 2 and book 3, there's tons of moreness that's very useful, hordes of it, right? And it resonates very much with, for me, it was very revelationary because it all overlapped with what I'd been working on all my life before I came to college. So it was very, very cool. And as we'll see, it's going to overlap with the program Way-Of-Impeccability. Now, if you don't know the program, then of course it's not going to. And with the other programs, with capital H hearing in particular, and not so much with the psychology of superiority paradigm, but still, capital diplomacy is in there, all sorts of things, at least in the abstract, not mentioned specifically. What I bring is an extension, an addition, taking all of this further. As Don Juan had said, there comes a point when a warrior has to take what he's shown and take it further. Right? So this is very important, and I've done that. Well, I did that before I met Don Juan and came into contact with him. So this is what we're doing. It's a great learning project, but it's a project where we are looking for learning, not of data, not of information, but of tools that we can use. And this is a very powerful distinction. Way-of-Impeccability subtitle is Tools for Deliberate, or a toolbox for deliberate living. That's what we're aiming for, deliberate living. Living with power, with sensibility, living with sobriety, living with moreness. Right? When we live deliberately, we have all of that. Yes? And we get to joy, real joy. This is our end accomplishment. Joy that is based on something real, solid, not empty, hollow joy. That's fleeting. So there's a big, big moreness involved in what we're doing. We're not being idle here, right? So we're on this great campaign to, at least from Beena and I's point of view, we're not actually looking to learn new things. I mean, yes, we like learning new things, but we know that in this we are not going to do that because we've already gone in detail through Way-of-Impeccability many, many times. Beena was with me with many different students. We did it together. Beena helped me facilitate. And so we know this. But what we are now in the process of doing is confirmation, coming at things from alternative perspectives, right? Which is one of our key tools, is to come at things from multiple perspectives. Right? This is incredible ability to be able to perspective shift to multiple perspectives and thinking things through to the end. This is very key, and that's what we're doing. We're being thorough, we're being diligent, we're being comprehensive, we're being conscientious, and we are consolidating our learning and our growing. And in that, we are consolidating the enhancement and development of our awareness, which is what life is all about. That's the key point. It's all about enhancement and development of awareness. That's what we're doing. And we're sharing all of this through the capital R reading in order to aid and accelerate and entrench and consolidate the enhancements and developments to our awareness. Right, Beena? Does that make sense? As a nice summary of what we're doing, bigger picture?
Exactly.
Anything to add?
Exactly. Yes. No, please
Right,
continue.
now, part of what everything that I have, it's based on the philosophy of appropriateness. This word, this term, appropriateness, we all know the word, but not as a philosophy. And it doesn't exist anywhere that I've ever been able to find in all of philosophy and literature. It's not in the Bible, it's not in the Quran, it's not in the Bhagavad Gita, nowhere. This term, this concept of appropriateness. When we understand that this is a pinnacle term, everything flows from that, right? When you understand appropriateness, understand what it's about context and goals. You have to have appropriate, understand what your goals are and the context is in order to be appropriate. Now we start to understand. Everything is about appropriateness. Like in the reading that we were doing, it's not appropriate for us to try and replicate the whole thing with the plants. And the book is telling you it's not, because why? Even though there's lots of detail, there's steps missing. The moment there's steps missing, so well, I can't do this. Right? So my focus has to shift. I'm being told by appropriateness and the book, no, I can't do this. Right? So appropriateness is absolutely key, absolutely everything. Now, within the context of appropriateness, should somebody come and join us on Zoom and they have something they want to talk about that's not directly connected to what we're doing, and then we shift and we deal with it, right? Like you now, Elizabeth, you said. So now we are going to say, Elizabeth, what's in your heart? What's in your soul? What's inside your mind? What is pressing on you that you wish to share? And let's listen to you. Elizabeth, share with us. Share what's in your heart.
Sometimes some fears.
Louder.
Yeah, it's like it's full of fear. And this is, I think, is coming from my past. My mother died a long time ago, and I was not able to see my father. So, being raised in different people, with different people, like a child, and
One second, Elizabeth. Speak like you were speaking earlier, because now I'm really struggling to hear you. And also hold the phone still. Don't move it. Yeah, because the sound comes and goes a bit. So hold the phone still, hold it close, and speak with that energy that you were speaking before, that we can hear you again. Please.
And saying, at the moment, what is bothering me is fear. Fear is bothering me a lot. And the problem, I think, is starting from the lifestyle that I've been before. Like, I've been raised with different people, so they have got different lifestyles. So once I'm coming from one family to another, I get fear. Like, I don't have that confidence to live the way I should live. No matter how much freedom I can be given. Also, I've got fear about doing things like maybe I'm interested in doing this. Immediately, if I get like discouragement from few customers or few people who tends to be my customers, but they're not sure, then I get fear and I stop that immediately. So this is what's driving me now.
Very interesting. All right. Now, I'm going to respond, and I have something very valuable for you. But before I do that, I want to just preface it and just put it into a packaging, to say that the way I come at things is from a very top-down overview perspective, right? And this is a very different way of doing things. Most people solve problems by looking at the particular detail. But then you only solve the detail for that particular problem. I like to come at it from the top, from the abstract way, so that I have the tools to, when that similar situation occurs, I can use those same tools in another situation. Right? It's like you don't learn to screw in a particular screw, you learn to use a screwdriver, correct? Then you can screw in any screw that the screwdriver can work for, right? So this is more important than learning to do the particulars. So it's not about the particular fears, but dealing with fear itself. And even more so, it is learning to deal with how your brain works, how your emotions work, how you work, your psychology, in other words. Right? The key point that I want to mention here is to understand emphasis, how it works, why it's important, why it's critical, and why it makes a massive difference. Emphasis literally rewires your brain. We repeat that. Emphasis literally rewires your brain. When something is profoundly emphasized, it changes the wiring in the brain. That's why when something dramatic happens, like when people's first child is born, or something like 9/11 or whatever, right? Something of that nature. They remember every detail. Most people can tell you exactly where they were in 9/11 if they were around in 9/11, right? Because it was so dramatic, it was so emphasized. Their brains are now hardwired to remember that. That's how our brains work. When something is emphasized, by implication, it is important. When it's important, your brain says, oh, this is important. I must reshape itself to take that importance into cognizance, to make sure that importance is not ignored, so that that importance can be utilized, can be acknowledged, can be prepared for, can be avoided, etc. Right? So the more we emphasize, the more we train our brain. Now, we get stuck in bubbles, and bubbles that are like whirlpools. Yes, fear is such a bubble, such a whirlpool, right? So what happens is when we get stuck in fear, we start to train our brain, and after a while, everything in our brain starts to become seen through the lens of fear. It's the same result as when you go to a special party, or some, like a wedding, and you wear a particular dress, right? Let's say you get this fancy red dress, and you go and you buy it. But because you're so immersed in this red dress, when you bought it, suddenly you notice everybody's wearing a red dress. Or you buy a new red car, everybody's driving a new red car, right? Its emphasis makes us notice that which we have emphasized more, right? Because you're selecting your brain now, you're training your brain to be paying attention to it, to notice it, to connect to it. So we have to be careful. And you can see the problem with fear. The more we pay attention to fear and focus on fear, the more we notice fear. And it starts to be, and eventually you live in a fear world. Now, how do we get out of this? Right? You understand how you are now immersed in fear, and your whole life is ruled by fear, because you trained your brain to be focused on fear, to notice fear, to be engaged in fear, to deal with fear, to recognize fear, to see the tiniest little thing that can make you afraid. Right? You've trained your brain. You've become very skilled at fear awareness. Make sense, Elizabeth?
I can hear you.
Are you with me so far?
I
Okay.
understand.
Right. So now you understand why you are where you are. How do you get out of it? And the key here is another major concept in what I do. Right? The first major concept here, I put it in a dictionary of power. Make your own dictionary of power. Right? First term here was emphasis. The second term is replacement. The key to solving problems is not to focus on the problem itself, but to replace it. In other words, if you've got problems with debt, and I come and just give you money to pay off your debts, right? So your problem with debt is solved. But is it solved the real problem? No. Why? Because if I help you pay off your debts, you just get to zero. You still don't have income. And very likely, if you haven't developed good attitudes and good habits, you're just going to get into debt again. Yes, Elizabeth, we see you. We see you. We see your eyes. Very good. Very good. Very good. Hello, Elizabeth. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Hello.
So you see the problem with dealing with the problem only In other words, like if you deal with debt only, yes, you may get out of debt, but you don't learn how to actually make income. Yes. So we have to replace the debt mindset with an income generating mindset. Now think of that in the context of fear. We have to replace the fear mindset with something that is completely not connected to fear, with a non-fear mindset, with a joy mindset, with a growth mindset, with a celebration mindset, with a confidence mindset, right? So the key to dealing with fear is to replace it by everything that is not fear, right? And now you've got to start emphasizing what is not fear. You've got to emphasize what is good, what is relaxing, or what you emphasize your own abilities, where you are competent, where you do have confidence. And the more you emphasize, the more you bring that reality to be prominent. That's the key, right? It's all about shifting your emphasis. So the whole point is emphasis, but you're going to replace a negative emphasis of fear with a positive emphasis of what it is that works in your life. Because obviously those fears are somewhat unfounded because you're still here, aren't you? You're surviving. You have gotten through it all, right? So how valid are the fears really if you are still here? See? Makes sense, Elizabeth?
It does, but what
So,
I'm thinking is, I am a human being. I've got feelings.
so
So
hang on, say that again, please.
I'm like, I've got these feelings as a human being. So this one has been inside me for some years. So there was no
Okay, let me pause you
security.
there. Hang on, let me pause you there about the feelings, right? Because this idea of feelings as a human being, you said, you are implying that these feelings are normal. Not so, right? First, false belief. We have to be very, very careful of false beliefs, right? Just because you feel them doesn't make them normal. Secondly, just because you feel it does not make it real. Write that down. Just because I feel it does not mean it's real. Yeah? You agree? Just because you feel something doesn't make it real. And also, your feelings are not necessarily accurate. We can feel things because other people feel them. You may be picking up on other people's fears. They're not necessarily your own. For instance, if you smell something, does that smell come from you? It might, but generally it doesn't, correct?
Yeah.
Feelings are just like smells. Yes. There are many smells around us. Most of them do not come from us. Same thing with feelings. Many feelings all around us. Most do not come from us. Right? So be aware that if you feel it, does not make it yours. Just because you feel it does not make it yours.
That's really good to hear
One more.
that feelings are sometimes like smelling.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes, not always. Actually, they are, when we feel stuff, they are very seldom accurate because we're feeling other stuff. Now, let me add one more thing here. Yes, this idea that feelings are something that is determined by stuff that is outside of us. This is a very deep idea that is inside humanity, right? Because we kind of taught this. Oh, it's a nice day. Oh, I feel good because it's a nice day. We hear this kind of thing and we accept it as a truth. No, I feel good because I choose to feel good. I feel good, me, because I choose to feel good, not because of external factors. I choose. Now, this is a very radical idea that we've never been taught. We've never been taught that we can choose how we feel. Let me repeat that. We can choose how we feel. We can. We can choose. If you are feeling in a particular way, get into the habit of associating this thought with feelings. Why am I continuing to choose to feel this way? Why am I continuing to choose to feel this way? once you take on the responsibility of making how you feel yours, to say, I choose how I feel, no one else, then your life changes. And we know that we can choose. Why? Because people don't react the same way to things. Huh? You may be afraid of fire, but the pyromaniac loves it. Yes, they don't have fear. They have thrill. They have excitement. A firefighter, likewise, they to them it's a job, and they are cautious. They are aware of the danger, but they're not consumed by fear of fire. Right? They can go into a fire. They can do the very opposite of what we do. So my point is, we can choose, because otherwise those things wouldn't exist. And look at like thrill seekers, people who like, I don't know, go skydiving, do things that other people think are ridiculous. Right? It's all choice. We choose how we feel. And when we realize this and we start to deliberately choose our feelings, everything changes. This is the ultimate superpower. Choose how you feel, and not to be a victim, not to be a slave, not to be at the mercy of the world. This is true freedom. If you want real freedom, learn to choose your own feelings. Learn to insist that you can choose your own feelings. Learn to insist that you can choose your own feelings. That's it. If you are choosing your own feelings, then are you really alive? Are you really a real person, or are you just a puppet? You're not a real person if you don't choose your own feelings. Say again, Elizabeth.
Yes, what about the sickness person? If the sickness person choose to
say it with more energy. I can't hear you. You need to say it with more energy. So you said, so what about? Say that again.
Saying, if that the case, so if that the case, what about the sickness person? If some choose to feel good or
choose to be good or
to feeling sick.
Oh, I lost you there. You were going fine, and then when it said choose to be good or, that's when I lost you. So repeat that again, please.
I'm saying, if that the case, like we can choose to feel good, and feeling good is coming from inside me and not outside. This is what you were saying.
Exactly. It's all choice. It's all choice.
So if
when we understand that, yeah, go ahead.
Choice, so what about the sickness person? Someone who is weak, someone who is always sick. Is this person chose to be sick or?
Yes. In some way, we choose many things. Right? Those things that we choose have consequence. Right? We're not always aware that they have consequence. We don't choose the thing directly, but we choose what gave rise to the thing, right? The result. So we don't always choose the result, but we choose the thing that starts the process. Everything in life is choice. Let me ask you this, Elizabeth. Right? Choice and responsibility are very important. Right now, in this very moment, right here, right now, do you, Elizabeth, know that in the future, weird things may happen, unusual things, odd things, nasty things, horrible things, unfair things, unjust things, dreadful things, etc. Do you, Elizabeth, right now know that in the future, such things could happen? Do you know this right now?
Yes.
Right, now that you've said you do know that in the future all sorts of things can happen, anything can happen, you're aware of this, you know this, right? Now, in this moment, knowing that weird things, horror things, unusual things, unhappy things, unfair things, blah blah, right, terrible things, whatever, knowing that they could happen, in this moment right now, do you, Elizabeth, choose to continue living knowing that bad and horrible and unpleasant things could happen in the future? Do you, Elizabeth, right now choose to continue living?
Sorry,
Do you?
again in the question.
Do you, Elizabeth, now knowing that bad things can happen in the future, do you choose right now to continue living knowing that they can happen?
I choose myself to be safe, but in
You choose to
horrible
continue living. You've got a choice. You know bad things can happen in the future. They might happen. They could happen. So do you choose to continue living or do you want to die right now?
I choose to continue living.
Right. So therefore, you now take responsibility for being alive in a world where bad things can happen. Correct?
Yeah.
So if those bad things happens, you cannot complain. If those bad things happen, you cannot complain because you chose to be here. You chose a long time ago. Yeah? Now,
Really,
that doesn't mean
it
you want them
depends.
to happen. That doesn't mean that that you want them to happen. But if they happen, you say, well, what can I do? That's life. Right? Knowing this, that you have to now you become a bit fatalistic to say, I choose to live anyway, even though those things might happen. Right? Because things are never as bad as what we believe them to be. The actuality is always less bad than the idea, than the imagination, right? But the point of it is, if there comes a point where the bad things and life is too bad, then stop living. It's as simple as that. We have a choice. We have a choice to continue living or not to live. We don't have to live. There's nothing that says we have to live. It's a choice. When we accept the choice for being alive, now it's our responsibility how we deal with life. Yes? It's become your responsibility because you've said, I choose knowing stuff can happen. I choose to continue to remain alive knowing bad things can happen. Right? So now it's all up to you. It's your responsibility. You cannot blame life when bad stuff happens. No. The only one you can blame is yourself. Yes? Makes sense?
Yeah, I
Very powerful.
understand it. But
See? Now, how your whole mindset has changed now. Now you can't complain anymore. You can't say, but this, but that, but this. No, you have to say, I'm responsible. And as such, it's up to me to deal with it. Me. I can't expect the world to change. I need to change. Yes?
no, you know what? This is my point of view. The
Exactly.
reason
Right. Right. Now, maybe what I said is not exactly what you wanted to hear. You wanted to learn how to deal with your problems, but I already shared how to deal with your problems. The way to deal with your problems is to change your emphasis. You can't see it now because you're in this bubble, in this vortex, in this whirlpool that's sucking you down because everything is fear, and you keep emphasizing it. But retrain your brain. Find one little thing in your life that's positive. Tell me one thing right now that's not fear related in your life. Just one.
one thing that's one thing that makes me to not fear.
That makes you what?
What did you say? Sorry.
Find one thing in your life. Tell me about one thing right now in your life. Just one tiny little thing that is not fear related.
Related in my life.
Yeah.
Maybe like I'm able to find solution.
You're breathing, aren't you? You're breathing right now. Yes. You're breathing.
Yeah.
Now, is your breathing fearful?
No.
Focus on breathing. Focus on breathing that is life-giving, that is fulfilling, that is more. Every day, all day long, focus on breathing. Right? Now you're changing your brain to say, I'm not focused on fear, I'm focused on something positive, something life-giving, something enhancing. And if you really focus on breathing, you can change your whole life just by focusing on breathing. Because it's the intent and the emphasis that makes the difference, not the activity itself. It is the emphasis and the intent. Your intent is to deal with fear. shift that intent to learn to focus and have an intent that is dealing with life, with living, with moreness. Have an intent to find moreness all around. Do you have nature where you are? I see plot. Yeah, well, focus on nature. Nature is very abundant. It's full of life, isn't it?
Where I live is like they've got a lot of trees.
Trees are fantastic focus. Focus on trees. Learn to be like a tree. Learn how to tree. Learn how to tree as a verb. Look at a tree. A tree is completely vulnerable, but yet the tree is happy. The tree is abundant. The tree is thriving. The tree is full of life. Right? The tree's got patience. The tree's got tolerance. The tree's got acceptance. In order to be a tree, don't you have to have those qualities? See what I mean? Just learn to look at the world differently. In other words, what I'm saying is practice this one skill. Practice shifting your perspective to focus on what is not fear. You've got tons of things around you. Right? Just focus on the trees. Learn from the trees. Learn to be like a tree. Learn to have tree qualities. Fantastic qualities in a tree, you know? Like I said, patience, acceptance, tolerance. Yeah.
Yeah, but really on my thinking and my understanding, sometimes when I walk around, I see trees are very sad. I see trees are like complaining. I see trees.
Right, right. I hear you. Sorry to interrupt you and cut you off, but you see my point. Your brain is trained to see things negatively. Train your brain to see things positively. We have no idea what the trees feel. We have no idea what the trees feel. It's a reflection of our state of mind. Yeah.
You can
So
see it by the leaves. When you see the leaves, when you see like it's not shining, it's not green while it should be green, then it's talking.
Yeah, but maybe that tree is internally, right? Okay, sometimes you may see my body a little bit in stress. That doesn't mean I am, right? I may be very sad. Wow, despite things being difficult and there being a drought and you know being a few nutrients in the soil, look at me, I'm still surviving. I'm not dead. The tree may be celebrating the fact that it is alive, despite the fact that there's lack of water, lack of nutrition, pollution, whatever. Says, so what? I'm still going to thrive. I'm still going to survive. See, we are put our emotions onto things. We don't know what the tree's actually feeling. Yes, I agree. The tree looks sad because the leaves are drooping. But at the same time, the tree's saying, hey, I'm getting through this. I'm surviving. And I'm still alive. I'm still here. Yeah. So I'm dealing with a drought. I'm dealing with a lack of nutrition. The tree may be very happy and confident inside there. You don't know. See what I'm saying? It's all in the emphasis, Elizabeth. It's all in the emphasis. Shift your perspective to emphasize the positive.
I understand, and I've got to like step forward for this just one day talk, 2 minutes talk. I've got some step forward after that. So my question is, can I kill my fears within a second?
Can I kill my fears with being a what?
A second.
A second. Is that the word you're saying?
Second. Within 2 minutes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Then what it takes is a profound choice. Make the decision to say that I am not going to live in fear. End of story. Make that decision. Set that intent. Intent is ridiculously powerful. Now, intent is not intention. Two different things. An intention is like a wish and a hope and a maybe. An intent is when you are taking action, when you are committed to doing something. I intend to do it. If I intend to do it, it means it's in process of being done. It will be done. I'm going to do it. There's no backing down from it. There's no canceling. You're already involved. You're already doing it. Plus, when you set an intent to involve the universe, however you may conceive of the universe, God, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, whatever, doesn't matter, right? When you set an intent to involve moreness, right? So now everything is involved in assisting you to get to your intent, which is why when you set an intent, you must hold on to it with unbending intent. You've got to have unbending intent. You can't let go. You've got to keep it because you're setting a process in motion and you're getting the whole world to change when you set an intent, right? It takes time for the whole world to change, right? It takes time for things to rearrange itself so that your life can be better. Hold that intent. Hold this intent and say, I intend to not live in fear. Yes? And now you're going to do everything you possibly can to make sure that intent happens. Now, not everything is up to you. You can't change the whole world with direct actions. That's why intent is so powerful, because you're getting the rest of things to get on your side and to help. Yes, a very profound mechanism, very profound mechanism. But do so. The point is, you're going to choose. Either you're going to choose to be focused on fear, or you're going to choose to focus on other things. You're going to choose what to emphasize. This is up to you. The more you emphasize fear, the more you have fear in your life. It's as simple as that. They say, but how can I ignore fear? It's not about ignoring it. Yes, caution is not the same as fear. Taking care and being prepared for dealing with whatever things are in your life, right? Being cautious around fire doesn't mean I'm afraid of fire. Many people deal with fire every day, right? They cook on a fire, whatever, right? But they're just cautious when it comes to it. They're not afraid. They're not living in fear, see? So caution and fear are not the same thing. Being sensible, having sobriety, being prepared, this has nothing to do with fear. That's a sensibility, right? So shift from being fearful, which is an emotional state, to being sensible, to being sober, to being cautious, to being prepared, which is those are actions you can do. Those are doings, right? Not feelings. And also learn to choose your feelings. Say, do I have to feel this way? You don't.
Oh no, that's not good. Yeah, I understand. So,
Choose.
like, what about, like, sometimes this is coming from the mistakes that we do. Like, if I've got a program and I feel like immediately there is a mistake between people's around, so the fear is just like coming automatically because of what you did was not the way how you planned to be done.
Well, now it's again, we get back to way of impeccability. We have to be impeccable. If we are crappy, if we are indulgent, if we are weak, if we are doing things that aren't right, well, then it's going to have consequence, right? So what you put out, you're going to get back. Be impeccable. Be impeccable. Do not do anything, not even the tiniest little thing that goes against your conscience. Be thorough, be diligent, be scrupulous, be conscientious in all your doings. Right? It's going to lead to impeccability. Impeccability is the best use of energy. It is giving everything due respect. It is being, like I said, thorough, being conscientious, being diligent, being scrupulous. This is what makes us impeccable. And impeccability is doing what is right according to our conscience, not right according to somebody else, right according to our conscience. Right? When you do what's right according to you, you have no regrets, you have no complaints, you have no doubts, right? Because you've been thorough, you've been diligent, you've been scrupulous, you've been conscientious. You know you've done your homework. If things don't work out, you'll see. If things fail, implode, doesn't matter. Those turn out to be fortuitous mistakes. It's like the universe is jumping you from one rail track onto another, right? So when you do things from that point of view, it changes everything. And this is what way of impeccability is all about. Many of these, or all of these things that I've said are all part of way of impeccability. There's a lot more. Change the way you think about yourself. Change your language. Watch every single word you say. Every single word you say. When you say, I am afraid of whatever, right? Your inner self, I call them your inner bureaucrats. They are going to try and make that statement true. Why? Because you don't want to be a liar and a phony, do you? You don't want to be a liar and a phony. So your inside is going to try and make whatever you say to be true. Otherwise, you're a liar. So if you go around saying, "Oh, I'm a person who's afraid. I've got fear in my life," it makes this true. See? So start changing that. So now say, okay, from today practice this, right? You can't just suddenly say, I'm not afraid, because your inner self says, well, that's a lie. But practice anything, do any skill, right? Even if it's just emphasis, that reduces your fear even by the tiniest amount. Then, right? Then at the end of the day and in the morning to say, you know what? I'm a little less fearful than I was yesterday, than I was before. If you can honestly say that every single day, your inner self is going to learn and say, oh, yeah, that's true. Actually, you know what, Elizabeth, you really are a little less afraid. So now there's growth, there's movement. In other words, by implication, you are saying, I can change and I have changed. If I have changed, it means I can change. If I can change, it means I will change. Right? So keep saying this every day and work on doing tiny little things that make you fear less. But now you are emphasizing that you are less and less and less afraid. There's going to come a day when you're going to say, oh, you know what? I'm not afraid anymore. And it will be true.
Yeah.
Right? Because you are going to use the power of your words. Words have incredible, incredible, incredible power. Watch every single word you say. Every single word. They all have power. They have tremendous power. Pay attention to the implications of what you say. How you describe yourself. To say, oh, I'm a fearful person. I've got fear in my life. I'm afraid. I am afraid. That is a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't say, I am afraid. You can say, I am currently experiencing fear. Look at the difference. You say, I am afraid, that by implication means you're a fearful person. Now, I'm currently experiencing fear. Well, that's by implication temporary. See the power of words? Pay attention to what you say and how you say it. Yeah?
Yeah. So what is the powerful between brain and the words?
Say that again, please.
Brain and words. Which one is powerful?
What and words? What's the word? What?
It's the words that we speak out of our mouths and the brain. Which one is powerful?
The word is more powerful that you speak out of your mouth because it's an application. Yeah? Yes, our thoughts are powerful also, but when you say it, you actualize it. Yeah, because many of our thoughts inside our head are, I call them shadow thoughts. The moment you say it, you realize, oh, what a load of nonsense. Yeah, they're not real. Shadow. When they hit the light makes them disappear because they're shadow thoughts. So take all the thoughts you have and express them. Either say them or write them out. Right? Writing is like saying. It's very powerful. Write out these things and see if they still have the same validity. Write out your fears and see if they're still valid when you see them on paper. You'll say, oh my goodness, Elizabeth, what were you thinking? What a lot of rubbish inside your head. Right? Because our thoughts explore possibilities and potentials, not actuals. Typically, when we say we're dealing with what actually is so, because otherwise you're just talking nonsense.
I appreciate it. I wish I could ask you a long time ago.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm here now. I know you tried, and we tried to connect, but we had a hard time connecting. And even now, it's difficult. The connection's not that good. So you got to find a spot that's a stronger connection. Go ahead.
But at least I've got something great. It's powerful.
Yeah. Again, speak out. You see, you're speaking inside. You have to project. You have to project like an actor on the stage.
I'm saying it is very powerful talking to you. Like I've got a step forward.
Yes.
Like now, when I think deeply inside myself, I feel like the fear is not powerful anymore.
Exactly. Fear is not you. That's the first step. You say, fear is not me. It's something external. It's something I'm emphasizing. I'm making it more. Right? It's like a child of the monster under the bed. It's all about emphasis, all about belief. When we start paying attention to what we believe, and we have this belief about belief. We believe that what you believe is fact, when it's not. It's what a belief is. A belief says it's not fact, right? But we treat our beliefs as fact. It's the most ridiculous, absurd thing ever. And it causes the most incredible amount of trouble in the world. This ability of human beings to treat their beliefs as fact. Well, animals do it also. You know how they tie up elephants in the circus? Yeah? They put little, right? Now, that chain that ties the elephant, the big adult elephants, it's not strong enough to hold the elephant. But when the elephant was a baby, when it was a child, then the chain was strong enough. So when the elephant was a little baby, it was tied up with this chain. And it struggled, and it couldn't break the chain. At some point, it gave up, believing it could not break the chain. But the elephant grew up, but it didn't adjust in its mind. So it's still chained by the same exact chain as a baby, but now as an adult, it never tries to break it when it can. Belief is ridiculously powerful. Belief is not reality. So ask yourself, are my fears beliefs or realities?
And to be honest, most of the people around the world have got here. I've been meeting a lot of people from different countries, and they used to talk to me like we had good time together with these people from different countries. And I see fears is within a lot of people.
Right. See, this is the power of emphasis. When you're involved in fear, you're going to meet and connect to people who are involved in fear. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Change the emphasis. Change the emphasis. Emphasis literally shifts your world, describes your world. It's very, very powerful emphasis. Very, very powerful. All right, Elizabeth, we'll leave it there for today. Now, what I want to recommend is, right, that this recording will be in group. It will be in the guides in group. You can find it on my YouTube channel, right? And then go over our conversation and make notes. Write out this conversation. Write out every single word, right? And then when you've got a transcript of it, then select from there all the things that you can do, that you can use, that you can act on, right? And make a list of those separately and do them. And do them. I've shared a ton of useful information here. I mean, if you really do what I'm saying properly and you do that transcript, you write out every single word of our conversation, and then you pull out all the things you can do, you will have more than enough to change your life. You will be busy with a month on this, just writing it out and pulling it out. But then you're going to start applying it. And then when you start applying it, that's when things change. Action, 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 action. Got to apply it. Without application, it's all meaningless. Say again?
Yeah, I really watch you on YouTube. I didn't know if you could have YouTube, but now I know I'm gonna watch you.
Yeah. And it's just under my name, Syl Sabastian on YouTube. And the spelling, right? Check the spelling. A lot of people spell my Sebastian with an E, but it's not. It's Sabastian. See, there are 3 A's there. For appropriateness, awareness, and attunement. 3 A's, very important. For appropriateness, awareness, and attunement. Just happened to come that way. I changed my name to spelling it that way when I was a boy for reasons that had nothing to do with this, but it turned out like that. So just spell my name correctly and you'll find me on YouTube. No problem. All right, Elizabeth, I gotta go.
My friends.
Yes. And discuss this with them. Discuss with your friends. Discuss moreness. Discuss joy. Discuss the power of choice. Discuss choosing your feelings. You wake up in the morning, choose how you feel. Choose how you feel.
Right.
Don't let the day decide how you feel. Choose. Whatever you're feeling in the morning, change it. Even if it's an okay feeling, change it to some other good feeling. Just because you are practicing choosing how to feel. Practice it. It's a skill. Simple skill. Right?
I don't
Wonderful.
hear other people talking like contributing.
Say that again, please.
I don't hear other people talking or contribute.
No, I didn't hear. You have
On
to
the
say it
Zoom.
really deeply again.
I'm saying, or are the other people who are on Zoom? I don't see them. I don't see them contributing.
Beena dropped. Maybe she lost her connection, or she had other stuff to do, because we were coming to the end of our time, and I think Beena has visitors, so she had to leave. Yeah, mostly it's just me and Beena. Sometimes people come like you, but you know, anybody can come and they're welcome to, but they don't choose to. So it all depends. So I just want to say hello on Instagram to Nazia and to Ariana and to, let's see, Rukmahidana. 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 Wow, very interesting name. Rukmahidana. I imagine when you pronounce it the way they did, it's a little different. But anyway, I like to say hello to people that join us. Some people were joining us on Instagram. But I have to go, Elizabeth. I have a customer that's coming and I have to take care of them. So I have to do things. So I don't have the time to continue. But I've given you
Very
much
nice.
there. So do what I suggested. Really, actually do it, and your life will change. You'll see. Right?
Very much.
Go watch this video again. You know, pause, write down, play, pause, go back. You know, write down every single word, and then pull out all of the things that I suggested do. I suggested many things to do. They all work together. Right? And even any one of them will be transformative. All together, your life will be completely different. Because the emphasis is going to be huge. So completely, fully immerse in the emphasis of what you're going to change, what you're going to do, the things that I suggested. Yeah? All right? Wonderful. And by the way, congratulate yourself for actually coming and being here.
Very much.
It's a big step, and very few people do it. You know, I have the opportunity. It's out there, right? I even have a phone number that people can call in. They don't. Why? Because they're too inhibited. They're too afraid. So as much as fear may be in your life, you weren't afraid to come here.
And then for you to do this project for us.
Say again?
I appreciate that you decided to do something for the world.
Yes. Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. But I'm not doing it for the world. I'm doing it for myself. I like sharing. I enjoy sharing. All right. But I want to say your life is not completely ruled by fear, because you came here. You weren't afraid to come here. You weren't afraid to share. You weren't afraid to be live. Yeah? A lot of people are. So you have something to be proud of. You have something to celebrate. Just take this fact in your mind. I did come here, where many don't. Many want to, but don't. You actually did. You actually did. Yeah. Be very proud of that. Be very proud of that. Be very comfortable with that. Emphasize that, to say, wow, I actually did something. I actually did something. That's the key. If you don't do nothing, a lot of people have ideas. They listen to their therapist, whatever, and they have ideas, but they don't act on it. And it means nothing. Right? And then they stay in therapy for decades. No. Way-of-Impeccability is all about doing. And you did. You did, Elizabeth. You did. Very cool. Very cool. Most awesome. Most awesome and most excellent. Yes?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. My pleasure, Elizabeth. My absolute pleasure. And we'll see you again. But I don't want to see you soon. Why? Because you've got a lot to do. I want to see you once you've written out the whole conversation, once you've made a list of all the things to do, and once you've been doing them, then I want to hear from you. All right?
Okay. Okay.
All right. I'm very keen to hear from you. Very keen from you. Yeah. After you've done all that. Right. And we'll see. We'll see a whole different Elizabeth. A whole different Elizabeth. I see the joy in you. I see the joy in you. It's waiting to come out. It just needs to be emphasized.
Yeah.
I see the moreness.
Yeah.
I see the power. I see the sobriety. I see the sensibility. It's all there. This needs to be emphasized. You're a good person, yes?
For
You are a good person. I'm asking you, are you a good person?
So yeah,
Of course you are. Of course you are. I can see that. It's very obvious. You're a good person. Just remember that. Just remember that.
person.
And trust your intent to goodness. We don't always know how to be good, but our intent to goodness, this is inviolate. This never changes. This is the core of us. We have a deep intent to goodness. You have that. Trust. Trust. All right? Okay. And part of that list of doing is make another list of questions. If you don't quite fully understand, make a question. And later you come back and you can ask the questions. Or you can tell me how it's going. So, oh, I'm doing this. This worked well. This worked well. This worked well. These things all work. They've been tried and tested many, many times. Yeah? All right, Elizabeth. I really, really have to go. I'm already late. So we'll end it right there. And thank you for everybody who was here. Thank you for everybody. So comment and click and like and share because it trains your algorithm. You see, you know how to train your algorithm on Facebook and on Google and on any social media, right? And on the internet. You know about this?
I know.
Right. So now that is the exact same mechanism in life. Exact same. Life has its own algorithm. Train that algorithm via emphasis. Same way you emphasize, if you emphasize hate stuff, hate speech, for instance, right? And propaganda, all that stuff, you're going to get all of that in your inbox. You're going to get all of that on your feed, on your timeline, correct? Change the algorithm, see? And when you like and click and subscribe and share on my stuff and other people's stuff, you're teaching the algorithm, hey, this is what I want. In life, it's exactly the same way. That's what emphasis does. If you emphasize fear, you're telling the algorithm, hey, I want more fear. See?
Yeah, that's good.
Train your algorithm. Train your algorithm, both on the internet and in life. Both of them. Train them both equally diligently. Don't have crap and rubbish and nonsense in your inbox, on your timeline, on your feed. No. Train it. I don't have any of that negative stuff. You say, oh, I don't want to go on social media. It's so negative. Mine is wonderfully positive. I want to see wonderful, magical, awesome stuff because I've trained it to be that way. Yeah? Same in life. I don't have rubbish and nonsense in my life because I train my algorithm. All right. I gotta go. I keep saying I gotta go and then I don't go because it's very important this. But you also need to at some point stop and do. Right? There's tons of things I can share, Elizabeth. But at some point we have to stop and do. All right, Elizabeth left. Very good. All right. So bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. All right. See you guys tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow. And